Hello everyone, and happy Mother's Day to all the mommies out there. Hope you're all staying safe and well. Welcome to what will hopefully be a short series of my self-isolation spectaculars. The point basically of this is that I'm going to do a video version of the kind of things that I blog about. So like my music reviews, album reviews, whatever, film reviews and that. For two reasons, basically. One, I think even in trying times like this, the ladies still need their eye candy. And second of all, we don't really have time to read at the moment, do we? Because we're too busy punching each other in the face over the last packet of Pom Bears in Morrison's. So, time is of the essence. Now, on that point, Uncle Matthew just needs to issue a word of advice. Those of you who are my friends on Facebook who read my stuff and what have you, you already know this. You're a cultured lot of people, but just a word to the wise: don't be a dickhead. For instance, the CEO of Cashel was on television the other day, and he was saying that they are capable of producing 24 million toilet rolls a day. So, and that's just Cashel. So you don't need to be kneeing old ladies in the face for toilet roll. If you just want to knee an old lady in the face, that's your prerogative, but don't do it for toilet roll. We're all not in the best moods at the moment. It's not the best situation. All the bars, restaurants, all the fun things to do are closed. But let's still try and be civil with each other. Let's not turn into savages. It's not that bad. If you go to the supermarket, remember that the people who work in the supermarket are human beings. Let's not be rude to them. Apparently that's already well on its way to happening. I was speaking to a lady who works in Morrison's the other day. People are being awful to them, and there's no need for it. So let's just all be cool. And we'll all be merry and bright if we do that. Anyway, while we're on about topical things, R.I.P. Kenny Rogers. Bless him. As a kid, I always had a bit of country music on in the house, My mum liked a bit of it, my dad really liked it. So Kenny Rogers was a familiar sound. Most people know him from Islands in the Stream with Dolly Parton, but also The Gambler. Oof, what a tune that is. It's probably the third best song about gambling ever written, the second being Cold Sweat by Thin Lizzy, and the first obviously is The Ace of Spades by Motörhead. But that you come third to those, it's not too shabby, is it? So God bless you, Kenny. So onwards and upwards to the review section. Actually, because I've now got the visual aspect, the string to my bow now. I can show you some tat. Now, obviously, what have I been doing with my time? Well, I've still been working from home, but in my considerable downtime, what have I been doing? Good question. What I could have done, I could have sat and formulated a plan for Brexit that I could then submit to the Prime Minister. I could always have written that novel that everyone's supposed to have in them, and pave my way to literary greatness. But instead, I'd done a Lego helicopter. shall we just do an hour of this? See, you don't get visual stimuli like that on every video you see on Facebook. Anyway, we'll put that back. Now, those of you who know me know that I like to collect plastic tat, and I collect a lot of 1/6 scale figures. If you don't know what those are, they're basically like really expensive action men. I've mainly got ones of superheroes and stuff. You might just be able to see the Justice League over there. There's Iron Man's hand. And I've just acquired a new one. Now I've got a lot of figures based on the TV series Game of Thrones, which was quite popular until they made that last episode that everyone whinged about. But I finally got my hands on what most people would say is probably the best character in the whole thing. Is Tyrion Lannister, and he came the other day, and there he is. Look at that face, isn't that good? I mean, I can't disclose how much I paid for him because, well, let's just say if my other kidney goes, I'm really up shit creek. Anyway, let's move on to some reviews, shall we? And I've written these down. We'll do music first, shall we? Now, I haven't done a lot of pop music, mainly because there hasn't been enough to like really be angry about or be pleased about. It's just been there. So I didn't think that would be very interesting. So most of this is in the realm of rock and metal. But let's go through them. I won't bore you too much with the details. I know you've got things to do. I mean, Homes Under the Hammer doesn't watch itself. So music. So here we go. First of all, Ozzy Osbourne's new album, Ordinary Man. Now, obviously, being a metalhead for many, many years, Black Sabbath are a monolith in the world of heavy metal. If you don't like Black Sabbath, then you need to be euthanized. I think that's the fairest thing that I could say. Ozzy solo stuff, still pretty good. And Ozzy's a bit of a national treasure. But in recent times, it's like, do we need Ozzy playing live? Because it's clearly beyond his capabilities now. Do we need another Ozzy album? And before I heard this, I'd have said no. I heard a couple of singles and they were rubbish. Not good at all. I mean, the idea that he was going to be collaborating with Post Malone's producer, it was like, ooh. Anyway, so we come to Ordinary Man, and it's actually really good. Don't get me wrong, it's not Master of Reality by Black Sabbath. It's not even Blizzard of Oz or No More Tears by Ozzy. It's just a really solid rock record. Ozzy sounds good. There's some catchy songs on here, some heavy songs on here. There's a couple of songs with Post Malone, but let's not hold that against him. They're not actually that bad. They're all right. And yeah, well done, Ozzy. Basically, could have been a disaster. It's not a masterpiece, but it's worth a listen. If you like Ozzy, then you'll like this. And yeah, that's it. So then we'll move on to a band I'd never heard of, and I just took a punt on these. They're called Starbenders, and they're a retro rock band. Now, usually retro in sort of rock and metal usually means people recycling Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and things like that. These guys come from the influence of 70s kind of radio rock music, especially female fronted 70s rock music. So we're talking like early Heart and Pat Benatar, things like that, which is quite interesting. It's a more interesting idea than it is a listen. There is one song on here called Holy Mother, which is superb. It is fantastic. Unfortunately, nothing else is as good. I'm interested to see what happens with this band going forward. But at the moment, they're just all right, with flashes of possibly being brilliant. So they're ones to keep an eye on. That's Starbenders. Now, one of the biggest bands of perhaps the last 5 or 10 years to come out of the metal scene have just released an album called F8 Fate. And that's Five Finger Death Punch. Now, Five Finger Death Punch, I don't mind Five Finger Death Punch. They're metal for the lowest common denominator. Really, it's just like, don't think about it too much and just smack your head off the wall. Certainly don't pay any attention to the lyrics. The lyrics are always crap. And this is just Five Finger Death Punch being Five Finger Death Punch to an average level. So, yeah. Onwards and upwards. Next, the Night Flight Orchestra and Aeromantic, their new album. Night Flight Orchestra, another retro rock band, but they also go at a different angle to a lot of these retro rock bands. Their influence is things like Journey and REO Speedwagon and like cheesy like radio rock music. And they are absolutely brilliant. They are really, really good at it. Because they take it from not a really sort of nudge, nudge, wink, winky kind of thing. They take it really seriously. And it just sounds fantastic. The singer is brilliant. The songs are brilliant. The choruses are huge. And, I mean, if you don't like this kind of thing, you just won't like it. But if that sounds interesting, give it a go. Because this album is really, really good. Next up, we have a band called Vredehammer, who are I don't know whether they're Norwegian or Swedish. They're from up north of Europe. Incredibly heavy, sort of thrashy, black metal influenced stuff. Really good riffs, really abrasive vocals that happen to have sort of hooks in them as well. So they're actually quite catchy. Not quite as good as their last one, Violator. That was wicked. That was really good, but good if you want something to scare small children with. That's one for you. Next we have Body Count, Ice-T's metal band, who've been around for God knows how long. Used to be a scary proposition, like black people playing heavy metal. But we've calmed down a bit now, you know, and their scene's a bit quaint, really, and it's good. It's catchy enough. It's Ice-T's great. I think I've always thought he's brilliant. Not as good as the last album. The last album, Bloodlust, was really, really good, and you know, Ice-T's still got some things to be angry about, and he does get angry. So yeah, it's interesting. It's fun. It's rap metal basically. So that's quite good. A band that have been around for years, and I've never listened to an album by them. A British band called My Dying Bride, who are, as you can imagine from that title, they're not really an S Club 7 covers band. Slow, doomy, miserable, depressing, and actually quite good, to be fair, if you like that kind of thing. All the songs do tend to meld into one. They're all the same kind of pace, but it's actually like quite good background music. I had it on while I was doing my work the other day, and it was quite good. Of course, it's still metal, so it'll probably make the majority of you cry. But if you like this kind of thing, it's quite good to have it in the background when you do something else. So yeah, that's quite good. Bit of pop punk now. A band called 4 Year Strong that stand out because their riffs are really, really heavy, melded to this kind of like Sum 41, Blink 182 sort of pop choruses kind of thing. They need better songs, but if you want something a bit sort of riffy that you can sing along to, it's not too bad. And finally, this one's an absolute revelation to me. A band called Code Orange. That the past few years, the press have gone absolutely gaga over Code Orange. Their last album, Forever, was like, oh, it's a masterpiece and all this kind of stuff. I listened to it and I just didn't get it at all. Really, really heavy, really screamy. The songs just kept sort of stopping and starting, and there was all these kind of like electronic glitches and stuff, and it didn't seem to like mesh together, and I just couldn't understand it. But a lot of people enjoyed it, so each their own. So last week they released a new album called Underneath, and I thought I'd give it a go, because early word in the press as well was that this was another game changer. And I listened to this, and I've got to say, it is incredible. It is absolutely fantastic. It's really abrasive, really nasty. It's got an electronic element that works a lot better this time. There's still the glitches and the stopping and the starting, but there's a sort of 9 Inch Nails kind of edge to it, which is really good. But also with these heavy songs, I've got to give a shout out to the guitarist and vocalist Reba Myers. She is the main weapon of this band. She is fantastic. You have like 2 or 3 really abrasive, like hardcore, like extreme metal songs, and then she'll come in with like this alternative kind of 90s voice, with these really sort of melodic songs that have still got a hard edge to them, but she just brings a different dimension out to this band. They remind me, those of you old enough will remember in the mid-90s when the record label Roadrunner, every single album they released was just by a brilliant band. Sepultura, Machine Head, Fear Factory, Type O Negative, Life of Agony. And this reminds me of that. It's really exciting. I don't think there's, even though there's lots of influences, you can sort of say, oh, they've got that from 9 Inch Nails, they've got that from Life of Agony, they've got that from Sepultura. When it all sort of comes together, it's really unique. So if you like metal, like really heavy metal, but you also like stuff that stands out from the crowd, that's a bit interesting, you're looking for something a bit different, Underneath by Code Orange. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So that's the records. I realise I've droned on for quite a bit, so we'll just we'll run through the films now that I've seen. A lot of these I saw quite a while ago, but I haven't blogged about them, so I'll just run them through now. A few of the Oscar contenders that were about. 1917, brilliant. Has been compared to Dunkirk. As far as I'm concerned, it pisses all over Dunkirk. I think it's great. Brilliant performances, brilliant direction. The way that it's all done as one take is fantastic. Really immerses you in the story, which is basically just a standard wartime, First World War, men on a mission kind of film. But it's incredibly emotional, incredibly visceral, fantastic. In my mind, should have won the Oscar for Best Picture, but we'll get to that in a minute. Jojo Rabbit, a comedy about Nazis. But it's actually really funny. Taika Waititi, who directed Thor Ragnarok, and What We Do in the Shadows. And yeah, that's really funny. Also quite poignant. Not quite sure what was nominated for an Oscar. It's usually the kind of thing they avoid, but so's the Joker, I suppose. But yeah, it's, excuse me, bit of windy pops. But yeah, really good. If you like satire and quirky comedy, then I'd check that out. It's really good. Now, the one that won the Oscar, the Korean film Parasite. It's really good. It's really good. It's basically the story of a poor family who basically infiltrate the lives of a rich family. To say anything else is really going to spoil it, because it's a really good sort of twisty turny thriller. I don't want this to sound the way that it's perhaps going to sound, but I do wonder if it hadn't been made in foreign language, whether it would have even been nominated for Best Picture. This is another one of these films that the Academy usually avoid, because at its heart it's just a really good Hitchcockian thriller. The kind of things we all like to watch but never get nominated for Oscars. So I wonder if if a company like Blumhouse, you know, who make like thrillers like and horrors like The Conjuring and films like Ma, and they've just made The Invisible Man, which I'll get to in a minute. If they'd have made this, I don't think it would have been nominated for an Oscar. But it is great. It's a really good film. I just think that 1917 is an exceptional film. So, yeah, but I would recommend it. Let's bring things down a bit. Birds of Prey. DC, they give with one hand and they take with another, don't they? The Joker was an incredible piece of work. Fantastic. Birds of Prey is just there. If you know what Birds of Prey is, Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad, played by Margot Robbie, who was good in that because she was a supporting character. In this, she's at the forefront. It's a bit like Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean. He's all right in small doses. You give him the film and you just want to punch his face. And it's kind of like that. Yeah, it's just there. It's just a nothing film. Really, after I've finished watching it, I'd forgot about it. It's no. Again, DC are looking for that run of films, really. They need like 2 or 3 films in a row that are decent. But it seems they do a good film and then there's crap following it. So, fingers crossed for Wonder Woman, 1984, which I think is going to be good. I mean, the first Wonder Woman was really good. And, to be honest, even though I was worried about Robert Pattinson, the Batman is shaping up to be something quite special, so fingers crossed for DC. So next we move onward to Onward. See, that's the quality you get on these videos. You don't get that anywhere else, which is perhaps a good thing. Onward, latest Pixar film, set in a sort of Lord of the Ringsy kind of Middle-earthy magical land where it was all sort of run by magic. Everyone used to use magic. A world of, you know, unicorns and elves and wizards and dragons and whatever. Until the discovery of electricity. And then people stopped using magic. And it's basically the story of 2 brothers who suffer a bereavement. And they reconnect with magic through this bereavement. And it's great. It is great. It's probably the best Pixar film since Inside Out. It does what Pixar always does when at their best. Makes you laugh, makes you cry, makes you sort of go, oh my god, that looks fantastic. And yeah, it's great. It's absolutely brilliant. It's one of the front runners for Film of the Year, in my opinion. I think it's great. Also, there is a Simpsons short film on before it, which is the best thing that the Simpsons have done in years and years and years, which I know isn't saying much if you watch the weekly show. Great 5-10 minute short about Maggie falling in love with like another little kid, and it's a silent film basically, and it's really, really good. So make sure you catch that. Next, I've already mentioned it, The Invisible Man. This is a fresh one. I watched this last night. It's one of the films that, because of the coronavirus, wasn't at the cinema, but you can actually stream it at home. The hoary old idea of a scientist who discovers invisibility. But this takes it from like a kind of sleeping with the enemy thriller point of view. The invisible man in question is an abusive husband. His wife leaves him, and he supposedly kills himself. And she believes he's still alive. And it's all about, is she crazy? Is he really an invisible man? Clues in the title, but it is really, really tense, especially in the first hour. It's really tense. When the special effects come in, it gets a little bit silly in parts, but not too much to spoil your enjoyment. The lead actress is really good. Oh God, I should have been prepared. I should have been giving you a name. She's the lead in Handmaid's Tale, and she was in Us as well. She was a right crazy in Us. Sorry, I'm unprofessional. I can't remember her name, but you know that's what Google's for. And she's great. She has to carry the film basically through her paranoia and growing fear and desperation, and she does a brilliant job. And it's a really good film. I would put it more in thriller than horror, but it has some tense scenes. There is a scene in a restaurant which is brilliant. I didn't see it coming. I almost jumped out of my seat. And not to come across as Barry Big Bollocks or anything, but not a lot of things make me jump, and it made me jump. So yeah, Invisible Man. That's a good one. And finally, Rob Zombie. Rob Zombie is one of my favourite metal artists of all time. He melds sort of industrial metal with horror influences. His songs are full of samples, and it's all a bit silly, but it's really good fun. And he's got a great sort of visual eye, and his videos are always really interesting. His album covers are really interesting, and he's just an all-round really good artist. He then went into, from directing on videos, he went into directing films. His first film, House of Thousand Corpses, was brilliant. It was like a Rob Zombie album brought to life. Obviously not to everyone's taste, but if you were in on Rob Zombie, chances are you were going to love that film. Really good. He made a sequel to that called Devil's Rejects, which was more like sort of like a Chainsaw Massacre kind of 70s gritty sort of nasty horror film. Also really good. His Halloween remake got a lot of stick. Really good. Then the wheels started to come off. Halloween 2, not good. He made an animated film called El Super Beasto, which was like sixth form, ooh, aren't tits funny kind of film. Rubbish. Lords of Salem, some gubbins about witches that I got 10 minutes into and just didn't carry on with it. Crap. 31, which was Rob Zombie Does the Running Man, which sounds like it might be good. It even had a Nazi dwarf in it dressed as Hitler, and it was still crap. Can you imagine that? Still rubbish. So now we come to 3 from Hell, which is the third film in the House of Thousand Corpses Devil's Rejects story. And it's basically, the cool thing about Devil's Rejects was it was so different to House of Thousand Corpses. So I was like, oh, is this going to be another different film? So you've got 3 very different films in a trilogy. This is Devil's Rejects again, but done at a half-arsed level. It's boring. And even if you think Rob Zombie's best films are crap, they're not boring. They just kind of beat you over the head in a sensory way. This doesn't do that. It's just dull. It just retreads a lot of the stuff that he's done before, but not as effectively. He likes to cast his wife in these things, Sherry, and Sherry's nice to look at. She seems like a nice lady, but she overacts terribly in this. She's so annoying. She's really annoying. Every time she comes on, I'm just like, Sherry, please just shut up. And she's in it a lot, which is a shame. But yeah, it's a bit of a letdown, really, that one. So, recommendations wise, if you haven't seen them already, 1917, Jojo Rabbit, Parasite, Onward, Invisible Man. Sack the rest off. If there's anything I've missed that you think is good, let me know and I'll have a watch of it and see what I think. And yeah, that's it for now. I shall see you anon. Stay healthy, stay safe. Bye for now.